I always forget.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's 9 a.m. So good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining in today's SMS once again. You tell it the Saturday morning session or strong meditation meditating sessions on GST, whatever way you want to say it. But it's SMS at the end of the day. And before we start the SMS today, we would like to really place on record the deep appreciation for all the defense forces who are really fighting for our country. So let's really pray for the safety of all the defense personnel and also for the people across the world, so that no innocent life is lost. And many of our faculty members are also in areas wherein there are now movement restrictions and all. So let's also pray for their safety and wonderful harmony. So with this, we start with today's SMS. So today we have two young dynamic speakers from the wonderful city of Pune. So I would request Renuji to introduce both of them. Venuji, over to you.
Thank you. And they, huh. So, firstly, let me introduce Prahalad. Prahalad qualified in 2004, and he is heading the indirect tax practice in Kirtane and Pandit. And I'm sure everyone know about Kirtane and Pandit. They are having office in Pune, Mumbai, Nashik, Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad. I think one of the largest for CA firms is like someone in top 20 in India. And Prahlad's core competency is in advisory in GST. He is also handling compliance and GST health check. With this, I welcome Prahlad sir for today's session. Let
Thank
me
you, Andy.
introduce our next session speaker, Mahesh from Pune, Mahesh Bandre, and most handsome. Mahesh is a qualified chartered accountant and as well a law graduate. Has been practicing over 15 years in the indirect taxes area. He also specializes in litigation and consultancy. Prior to GST, he's been part of Central Excise Service Tax and Customs Foreign Trade Policy. He is well versed with the refunds of EOU, STPI, FTP. Whenever someone has any doubt in your JSON upload, you please call Mahesh. He will take care of fixing of all those things. And he also provides litigation support to a lot of domestic and multinational firms. Today we are having Jugalbandi of the session with Mahesh and Prahlad with us. And over to you, both of you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I think introduction is you have made me hero. Anyways, thank you for the words of appreciation.
No, we are only bringing it to limelight.
Yeah. Anyways, good morning, members. And I'm very much thankful for giving me this opportunity to present our thought before this esteemed members and the professional experts in this group. So despite of 8 years and more, we are still facing the teething issues and nuances from the various aspect of the GST. Since today our topic is RCM, we'll be definitely dealing with the RCM only. We have witnessed a series of amendment in RCM since the inception, but in last one and a half year, there are again many changes which are impacting on our day-to-day working. Those are not only technical, but also bringing some new entries in the ambit of the RCM. These are again causing the serious issues and adding up the compliance burden on the assessee as well as the professional fraternity. So we both have tried to dissect the provisions and tried to bring out certain issues which we feel that the either this forum and the members, expert members from this forum, we all together should address them and should get some inputs from the members. So Prahlad will take us through this journey. He is the torchbearer for the next 1 hour. He will take us through this journey and will explain the provisions and will come out with certain issues that will be probably will discuss during the session. Prahlad, over to you.
Okay, so thank you, Venuji, for the nice introduction. And thank you, Arobda, for giving me this opportunity to present before faculty group. In this session, we are going to cover recent amendment in RCM provisions. So broad coverage could be amendment in section 13, subsection 3. Then RCM invoice needs to be raised in case of unregistered suppliers, RCM in case of commercial property, RCM in case of scrap, and ITC provisions related to RCM. And then section 74 applicability if RCM is not paid or something like that. And if time permits, then we will deal with amendment which happened in section 23(2) by Finance Act 2023. So I will start with section 13(3) amendment. So I will just read the relevant provision that is 13(3), which defines time of supply in case of services. So the highlighted red highlighted portion is the amendment which has been happened. So in case of supplies in respect of which tax is paid or payable to be paid by on RCM basis, the time of supply shall be earliest of the following dates. A, the date of payment as entered in books of accounts of the recipient or date on which payment is debited in his books of accounts, in his bank account, sorry, whichever is earlier. So we all know this since last 8 years. Then B is the date immediately following 60 days from the date of invoice or any other document by whatever name called in lien thereof by the supplier. In case where supplier is required to be issued, in case invoice is required to be issued by the supplier. So these typical words are been added in this particular provision. I would say that this is just to clarify that this particular provision is applicable for registered suppliers, and they have added one more clause which will deal with if the supplier is unregistered. So the date of invoice of the date of issue of invoice by recipient in cases where invoice is to be issued by the recipient, that would be the point of taxation as far as RCM is concerned. And most importantly, there is a one proviso which we are going to deal with some of the case studies which we have discussed, that provided that where it is not possible to determine time of supply under clause A, B or C, the time of supply shall be date of entry in books of accounts of the recipient of supply. So we need to keep this in mind. So other than this, there would be two more amendments which happened in 2024. One is related to tax invoice. Section 31, subsection 3, subclause 5 defines a registered person who is liable to pay tax under subsection 3 or subsection 4 of section 9 shall, within the time period as may be prescribed, issue an invoice in respect of goods or services or both received by him from the supplier who is not registered on the date of receipt of goods or services. So this particular section requires recipient to issue to generate an invoice that we called it as self invoice in case supplier is not registered. Now they have given they have said that the invoice need to be issued within certain time frame, and that time frame is defined by way of rule 47A, wherein they are saying that the invoice needs to be generated within 30 days from the date of receipt of said supply of goods or services or both. So as a recipient, as an unregistered recipient, I am required to generate invoice after receipt of goods or services within 30 days. So there could be question around how to determine date of receipt of service. Okay, we'll cover this in one of the scenario. So I will start with the first basic scenario, wherein supplier is registered. he has issued invoice on 8th of November 2024. Payment is also made on same date. So in that case, there is no issue. Time of supply would be 8 November only. Second, again a simple case where date of issue of invoice is 8th of November. Payment is made on 1st of January. 60 days, which says about 13/3/P, that is 7th January 2025. So as payment date is earlier of 7th January, so time of supply would be 1st January 2025. Till now, I think these are very simple and straightforward cases. Then I would like to start with the scenario number 3, wherein I would like to have inputs from all the members also. So suppose take an example, invoice dated 8 November, but the supplier has not given that invoice to the recipient, and recipient has received the invoice on 15th of February, and he has accounted for immediately on receipt of invoice. So here invoice is issued far later than issue of invoice. So as far as date of invoice is concerned, it is 8 November. 60th date from the invoice is 7th January 2025. Till that time, recipient does not have copy of the invoice. So what would be the point of taxation? From what would be the time of supply? What are your views on this? Anyone? Okay. So here, if we, though we are doing accounting of a particular service as received on 15th February, if we read the provisions, it says that point of taxation would be 60th date from the date of invoice. So in such scenario, though I was not aware of this type of invoice is to be issued, but I may require to pay interest for the delayed payment of RCM. So in that case, point of taxation would be 7th January 2025. But as I have accounted in February, so I will pay the GST liability in February 3B. So there could be interest of 1 month, which is required to be paid in this scenario. I think most of us must be facing this problem. So is everyone is paying interest on this particular scenario, or is there any another view on this particular point? Arubda?
We are actually trying to get the invoices on time, actually. So that is one thing. That time lag, because when this was introduced, the amendment had come, so we had tried to introduce that particular time lag, that, because what happens normally is that in cases where the accounts team is getting the invoice after a time lag, that is the only challenge that is happening.
Right,
If
because
if
it
the
happens
invoices are
at,
coming, yeah, if it comes directly to the accounts, then it is okay. But if it's going to some other, say legal is, say for the advocate's fees, legal is checking whether that road actually appeared and all those things. They're looking to judgment, how many dates they appeared. So if legal was making the delay, so now we have made a process that if legal gets a invoice, so they have to like forward the invoice to accounts within say 15 days, 20 days. That timeline has been set. So by
okay,
that, somehow, yeah, that is how we've been controlled. But yeah, I agree to your view that as per the time of supply provisions, it would be 7th January and not 15th February. So ideally, if I am paying it, I am booking it in 15th February and discharging my tax in the February 3B, then interest liability is arising on me.
right, because actually normally it happens in big MNCs, normally with case of GTA invoices, because
Yes,
GTA
yes,
invoices are handled by logistics team, they do not approve on time, and it takes time to reach to accounts department. So I think this is sometimes it may also happen that supplier himself do not issue the invoice. He issue the invoice, but he has not given it to some relevant person.
Yes, that is the one. That is one of the another problem actually. They have issued the invoice, but have not forwarded the invoice.
Right. So in that case, I think there is a problem. Then
I just
yes.
have one point.
Yeah,
Now
ma'am.
that you have told that supplier is registered, then he would have reported in the November or in the December month return itself. So in that
Correct.
case, it would appear in the 2B of this of the recipient, right? In that
Yes.
case, what sort of reconciliation? Nowadays I'm seeing that department is even demanding based on 2B itself. So,
Yes.
what is your thoughts on those? Like, I mean, because it comes in 2B, there won't be any delay because recipient will be careful in reporting it in that month itself. But what sort of reconciliations are being maintained to track these kind of time lags?
In my view, we need to do reconciliation with 2B also. RCM liability need to be reconciled with 2B, and anything if it is more in 2B, then that could be good trigger to identify there is another RCM liability, and accordingly we can also pay it. But for that purpose, again, we need to confirm that this particular invoice is related to me only. So we have very limited time from 14th to 20th. If we could confirm it, then we can, basis 2B also, we can save on interest. So this could be, in my view, this could be another reconciliation which one need to maintain. As
Yes,
it
Yeah,
is,
Prahlad,
based on that,
this is
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
this is
Maheshji,
what precisely we are doing while preparing the 99C. We take the dump of 2B and we reconcile with the RCM paid during the year. And if there are any shortfall, then certainly we have to make it. Because now, Madam rightly pointed out, right? Currently, the audit team, they are specifically asking this reconciliation and the differential tax, if at all.
yes, Mahesh, actually, in one of the case study, I think we are going to discuss this also, because if we do this activity at the time of 9 and 9C, then what would happen for ITC credit? That could also be one of the
Yeah.
challenge. So 9C is best, but maybe in between also we may require to do it. Okay.
I have a follow-up question.
Yes, please, sir.
Now, out of the invoice of 100 rupees, management agrees to pay only 80 rupees. And this invoice is appearing in 2B for 100. What would you suggest? The liability to be created for 100 or it should be for 80?
Okay. So whether this is because of short receipt of service or what?
I am not happy with the quality. We negotiated, like including say lawyer fees. He didn't appear the way we want. I lost the case and I'm saying that I'll not pay 50K, I'll pay 40K.
Okay. So in that case, actually, there is need of credit note from the supplier, right?
वो लोग करते नहीं है.
करते नहीं है, that is right. But if we
and
legal,
उनका most of their accounting is receipt basis. जब पैसा आया तभी वो income.
Yes. But in that case, I think it would be very difficult, because as far as law is concerned, law requires credit note to be issued in certain these cases. And he has issued invoice which is reported on portal GSTR 1, reported in GSTR 2B. So to pay liability on net basis, there will be, I think, a litigation which we need to face.
Isn't it my self-tax invoice? I am saying that मैं इतना ही pay कर रहा हूँ. If my expenditure is only so much, or for a moment I am not paying, then still should I pay RCM? I decided not to pay.
Sir,
There is an
this is a
invoice
registered
appearing to-
supplier, no? This is a registered supplier. So the supplier will issue the invoice. So corresponding credit note should come from supplier only, no?
Supplier only.
It's like
It's
जब
had
तक
it-
मैं पे नहीं करूंगा तब तक वो credit note की बात आती नहीं है.
ये प्रैक्टिकल प्रॉब्लम है, लेकिन अगर हम प्रोविजन देखें तो माय लायबिलिटी विल ट्रिगर ऑन 68 डेट ऑफ इनवॉइस.
हाँ, but वो दिया, मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि I am not willing to pay any payment to the supplier.
Have you not received the service?
I have received, but I'm not happy with the service.
If service is received, then it is taxable.
But I'm not happy with the service.
But again, if you are not happy, then credit note needs to be issued. But as far as GST is concerned, we need to look at whether service is rendered or not rendered.
No, so supplier can say he rendered for 50,000. मैं नहीं मान रहा हूँ ना. So when do you say the service is provided? Is it from the supplier side or the recipient acknowledgement?
Praladji, can you share section 931?
931? Yes, certainly.
93. Yeah, 93. Yeah, yeah.
And just to add, 31.3 is the time of supply provisions. It cannot
Yes.
dictate the valuation of the service. So if ultimately I'm going to pay after debiting the quality related penalties, to my mind, I should be liable to pay only on the net value, even though the supplier invoice is still unrectified.
Right. So Amitji, that's why I wanted to just check once 9. Because 9.3 एक बार. तो वो देख.
Yes, one more point, Arubda.
Yes, sir.
When Venuji said that I have not received the services, but received the deficient services. First, you have received the services, then only you have decided that the services are deficient. So you have received the services. That is first argument from department side. Second is, as you said, section 93. If you have invoice raised, to that extent, it is deemed to be services has been deemed to be provided.
Yes. Because 93 says the government may, on the by notification, specify categories of supply of goods or services, the tax on which shall be paid on reverse charge basis by the recipient of such goods or services or both. So it is nowhere saying that how much amount is being paid to that person, because I'll just give a corollary to this. Suppose I am a chartered accountant, I am raising an invoice of 1 lakh to the client. Okay, and the client is paying to me 80,000. So can I take the view without issuing a credit note that I will pay tax only on 80,000? So the same logic or the thing will apply in the case of RCM also, because it says the tax on which shall be paid. So shall be paid on reverse charge basis by the recipient of such goods or services or both. So it is not saying on the amount paid by the recipient. So
It is on
I
the
think
value of service.
yes, so that's why if the similar to the corollary in case of output tax, if I'm not allowed to reduce the output tax without issuance of a credit note, similarly in the case of inward supply on which I am supposed to pay the tax under RCM, as Praladji has rightly shared, without, if it's a case of registered supplier,
Yeah,
without
let's look at all the registered supply first. Yeah.
without the issuance of the credit note, I will not have the opportunity to pay the RCM only on the reduced value. And this is the litigation that we are fighting actually. This is practically the litigation. Just say, whatever you have said, this is a practical scenario, especially in case of GTA.
Right.
In case of GTA, they have lost my 10 mobiles. So I said, I'll deduct it from you. But वो बोले नहीं, वो कैसे होगा? हम लोगों ने आपके आदमी को दिया था store में, उसने कहाँ रख दिया? How can we know and all those things? So now there is a dispute that they have handed over the mobiles. We are saying we have not got the mobiles, but in the meantime we have deducted their thing. So now when we are deducting it, so can we actually reduce RCM? Practically saying yes, but technically and legally saying we cannot do it. That's what we have seen as per the law. That's what even we are advising. So if any other member has any other counter view also, we appreciate that they can bring it
We
forward.
should see section 34(2) also in this regard. Whether credit note provisions are applicable
Praladji,
for
Praladji,
RCM
34(2) देखते हैं, 34(2).
Any registered person who issues credit note in relation to supply of goods or services or both shall declare the details of such credit note in written for the month during which such credit note has been issued, but not later than 30th November following the end of the financial year in which such supply was made, or date of furnishing relevant annual return, whichever is earlier, and date of liability shall be adjusted in such manner. So I think this is applicable for RCM transaction also.
Yes, exactly.
So
it talks about a registered person, and in the last line it says the tax liability shall be adjusted in such manner as may prescribed. So unless and until the registered person who is supplying the inward supply to me, he or she is issuing a credit note, so I cannot reduce the value of supply for the tax liability.
Right, I agree.
That is what is coming from. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Over to you, Prahlad.
Yes.
Or any other member, any other views you can share it.
Legally, I agree with the view. But I am unable to reconcile in my mind. I don't have any other counter view.
No, practically, yeah. Practically, it's
practically I agree with Venuji.
Another interesting situation is also faced. No, the registered GTA is uploading the invoice. for services not rendered to me. It was rendered to somebody else. And now I have to prove through my ledger and all that that invoice was not paid to me. So all those challenges are also coming.
So coming to next scenario, this is the case where I have received the services. Let us take an example of security services. So on a monthly basis, I receive security services, and at month end, I do account for as a provision of that particular expenditure. So let us take example of November month. For the month of November, I have received security services. The service provider has issued invoice on 5th of December. So after 5 days. And I have paid on 20th of January, 68 days is 3rd of February. So here I would like to know your views with reference to the proviso to section 13.3, which says that, I will just read it once again. Provided that where it is not possible to determine time of supply under clause A, B, or C, the time of supply shall be date of entry in books of accounts of the recipient. So here I would like to say that at when this proviso should be made applicable, whether it need to be made applicable if I account it for on 30th November, because normally it happens that service provider issues invoice 5 days after completion of service, because he has 30 days time to issue invoice. But I have accounted for my MIS purpose or anything like that. So what could be the time of supply in this particular case?
So I am saying 30th November.
Yes, I have accounted on 30th November. I have received invoice on 5th of December. Normally, I account for after receipt of invoice and I pay GST liability accordingly, because in this particular case, suppose I am paying on 20th of January, I will pay on 20th of January. Basis date of 68 date from invoice or date of payment, whichever is earlier. But for MIS purpose, I have already made the provision before receipt of invoice. So this may be applicable in all cases, rather, not only security services, maybe advocate services, anything where I know that services are being completed and I know how much amount to be paid. So I have provided for. So whether,
Sorry.
yes.
I wouldn't agree with the provision as accounting. And see, I would go back to Bharti Airtel case, the Supreme Court. There would be a lot of cases where they would have given works contract and the orders are going on. And I would make a provision basis an estimate. Unless I give a credit to a vendor account in my books, I wouldn't call that as accounting. So still, I would earliest of payment or invoice date or accounting, mere provision wouldn't make it as an liability to be paid to so and so.
Venuji, but in this case, I would say that it is not just provision, it would be specific provision with that vendor is getting credited in his books account, because I know that on
then I would agree with the Soumya madam. But someone who is making every month and a general provision for the bills not received, an ad hoc amount will be provided for to do close the books of accounts. That wouldn't trigger the time of supply.
Sir, just to add on Prahlad's issue, so particularly rent agreement, where the date is specified in the agreement itself, but the invoice is generated as per their convenience. So you know the party, you know the amount. It is just a book entry for the purpose of MIS. So everything is known except the physical copy of the invoice.
Yeah, when we make a specific entry, that means we are accounting. So then it is accounted in the books. Only when it is a specific accounting entry. A generic provision wouldn't mean an accounting. That is my view.
agree. So, okay, as far as generic provision is concerned, I agree with your view, but if there is a specific entry, whether this proviso will be applicable and anyone really practically doing this, I would like to know this. Because normally happens in case of rent security, we know the amount we accounted
We
for.
in our office we actually do in the same way. Whatever is accounted in the books of accounts, we just go by that, and that is our basis for discharging the RCM.
Okay. Okay. So in this particular case, it would be on provision also.
In my view, yes. And when I say provision, it is accounting.
Right. I agree. Specific provision.
Yes.
I agree with Venu sir. The only challenges which typically we faced in audit, they go by date of invoice, and if the accounting is after 60 days or 90, after 60 days, then there is a challenge of interest which we are also facing as of now. But as this point we have kept as pending for auditors only. We also advise to do a GST liability based on date of accounting.
Right. Okay. So should we move ahead?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So this was as far as registered is concerned. Similar problem is with unregistered also, because in case of unregistered, again, scenario number 1 and 2 are very simple. I have received the service. Okay, here I would like to discuss about how we are going to decide when services are being received. So what could be the criteria for receipt of service?
If I acknowledge the invoice, if I make an accounting, that itself is sufficiency of receipt of service.
Okay, so if I account it for, then I can say that it is a receipt of service.
Yes.
I think there is an explicit explanation inserted where it says, to the extent invoice is issued, it will be deemed that services has been received to that extent.
Right. That is for issuance of service, right? Issuance of invoice.
Correct. And we can, I mean, draw this.
Analogy.
Yeah.
Right, right. Yes, actually, again, otherwise it is very difficult to decide when service is being received. So in case of continuous supply of service, we can go by the contract. For any other service, we can go by the PO, and but again, it would be a really challenging that someone may say that a particular service is being, for example, in case of audit services. So in the scope of auditor, there is scope that he will issue management letter also. So whether service is been received after receipt of management letter or service is received on the date of issuance of audit report. That could be a question, because one can say that unless until management letter is been received, service is not complete. Otherwise, the main job of the auditor is to issue audit report. So immediately on completion of audit, it is as good as service is being completed and received. So I think there could be service by service, there could be challenge to decide what is receipt of service. Any other views on this?
I think we will go with that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll continue.
In case of
Nothing.
audit, the date of UDIN becomes the criteria, no? When you take the date of UDIN, when it is passed in the AGM, only after that your completion of service comes.
I agree, sir. But as far as scope is concerned, scope says that auditor is going to issue management letter also.
Yeah, but once you issue the UDIN, then
UDIN is for audit report.
Yeah, audit report. So you are performed your side of the thing. MRL will, there is always a time gap now. Some 60 days within that you can take the MRL and all that. I don't think it is required before sign off. Or is it?
Yes, I think this could be a matter of litigation, I would say. better to pay, better to consider date of receipt of service immediately on receipt of audit report itself, rather than waiting for management letter, because normally management letters takes time to get issued.
Correct. So that's what I'm saying. Once your report is approved in the AGM and you sign the UD, you put the UD, then your service becomes completed. You can raise a bill.
Right, right. Okay. So as far as going forward, as far as this unregistered is concerned, there would no more change. Just instead of 60 days, I need to consider 30 days from date of receipt. Earlier it was from the date of issue of invoice 60 days. Now we get only 30 days from date of receipt. Other than that, no change is there. So I will just go ahead. Okay. So now I would like to discuss about a new entry which is inserted on 8th of October 2024, which says that RCM is applicable on receipt of commercial property service. So service by way of renting of, earlier the wording was any property. So afterwards they understood the mistake and they have replaced it by any immobile property. So services by way of renting of any immobile property other than residential dwelling is under reverse charge, and registered person who has received the service is need to pay. So unregistered person providing services to registered person is under RCM. So here they have further amended this entry on January 2025, wherein they say that recipient should be any registered person other than a person who opted to pay tax under composition levy. So the person who is registered under composition levy, he is out of RCM. So here we'd like to discuss the case study. Suppose take an example of restaurant. So we all know that as far as restaurants are concerned, there are three scenarios. One is 5% rate is there, but 5% there are two types of rate. One is tariff rate and one is composition rate. In both the scenarios, rate is 5% only. So if I opt for composition scheme, then also rate is 5%. If I do not opt for composition scheme, then also output rate is 5% and with no ITC. But if I opted for composition scheme, I am not required to pay RCM on reverse charge basis for commercial property which I have taken on rent. And if I have not opted for the composition scheme, then I am required to pay RCM. So I think I would like to have views from the members on this particular point. What are their takes on this?
Pralaji, one very important difference in this two provision is, in composition you cannot collect it from the customer also, but in case of first one we can also collect. So I mean, it's not just merely a non-filing of a form which will I mean, it's a very strategically it is very different. I mean, in case first one you can collect 5% extra also, but in the second case you cannot collect it. And I think it's a very grossly incorrect situation created, benefiting only the composition person. Nowadays, I mean, in very few are in the this kind of situation in composition.
Yes. Even we are of that view that this type of exclusion given to only composition dealer is really not right way of doing it.
Correct.
Because other than composition, we can discuss about hospitals also. Hospitals are their turnover is fully exempt. Let us consider that they are fully exempt. There is no bed which is more than 5,000. So if they are providing 100% exempt services, but they are not registered as composition, still as they are not registered under composition, they are required to pay under RC. So benefit given to only composition dealer, that we are of the view that that is something arbitrary.
Okay, I have a view. Now, I know composition dealer cannot collect 5% from the customers. But today, when someone goes to the restaurant, they are all aware that there is something called tax. What if the composition dealer has increased the price, and in the bill he specifically says the price is including 5% tax, composition tax payable to the government. He is saying that it is not collecting, and it is this sales is including of the tax that I have to pay. How does it differ? Because end of the day, you go whether 150 rupees masala dosa, 100 rupees masala dosa, you pay. You don't care whether it is 95 plus 5
or 100 plus 5
Yeah.
or only 100.
Correct.
Yes, yes. Certainly. So just by going by a mechanism of composition or non-composition, as output rate is same in both the scenarios, I think this is something which is little need to be rectified from government side. And
No.
apart from that, as far as restaurants are concerned or any composition dealer is concerned, at least they are registered taxpayers. But to increase burdens on some entities who are otherwise exempted, fully exempted.
No, but
Just like hospital.
Praladji, if somebody is fully exempted, then they're outside the ambit, no? If they're exclusively supplying exempt
Yes.
supply, then
Even
they don't need.
yes,
Yeah,
correct,
they don't
correct.
need to get a registration.
Even some of
So
the
that-
nursing homes which do not have pharmacy of OPD, they are fully exempt. They do not take any registration, so they are out of
Yeah.
it. But let's say
Yeah,
for
because-
for sake they have taken registration in hospital case
Ah,
for OPD
ah.
pharmacy. Let's say
Yes.
for that
Yes.
it becomes a burden.
But
Right.
again, you have to understand the genesis of why composition dealers are given the benefit. They have a threshold limit. Like I am handling some of the restaurant chains who have
Yeah.
a turnover of more than 15-20 crores. So it is not meant for them because they are maybe under regular registration. But composition dealer, matlab, they have the threshold limit within which they can work. So that's why maybe considering that, like in the case of excise also, all these SSI benefits, matlab, up to that threshold limit, you don't have to pay excise and all. So considering the volume of turnover, this benefit is given. And another thing is that if you look at a Kirana store today, if you look at a practical scenario, a Kirana store whose turnover is 1 crore, maybe they are paying a rent of say 20,000 per month or 28,000 per month. So on him, there was a now liability coming up of 18%. So whereas his maybe total tax liability in the month will not be that much. So that is the challenge that was being sought to be. So one argument could be from the fitment committee, which decides all these exclusions that have been given. So one argument could be the volume of turnover or the threshold limit, which is the restriction for a composition dealer, which is not there for a regular dealer. So that could be one of the things. But what Praladji is trying to specify that in case of a restaurant, this is becoming a discrimination because restaurants, either way you go as a regular or a composition, up to a certain threshold limit, you are paying that 5% only.
Again, this may be a problematic situation for hospitals or schools also, because otherwise, because of some reason, some otherwise entries, they are required to take a registration. So my second slide is related to schools only. For some reason, they are required to take a registration. And as they are required to take registration, they become registered person for which they need to pay tax.
Prahlad sir, I had a slightly different, I don't know whether it will fit into this case, but for immovable property, when we say I have given a property on a rent, I still need to go to section 7, whether it will qualify as a business of the supplier or not. Then only I will pay the tax under the reverse charge. To my mean, if the supplier is having only one property or he's regularly not having that, he's just having investment kind of income. So I will say it is not a supply business per se, and this is just an investment activity, and hence it is not a business and not liable for reverse charge. If you are able to recall, for even gold, say they were said it's not liable to pay because when they exchange the gold or giving it gold, it's not a supply. The old circular was there at that time, unregistered purchases was there.
It was by way of press release. Yes.
Yes. So, but in that case, it would be very difficult to fix for the recipient whether it is supplier's business or not. how recipient can decide whether this is business of supplier or not.
Plus
Sir,
217 has a
sorry,
wider
sir,
view.
shall I put one more thing, sir?
Yes, please, sir.
Shall I
Please,
add,
sir.
sir?
Yes, please.
Sir, that was the situation whether it was coming at a 9.4 or not. Now, when 9.3 is specifically mentioning some services or goods, then there is no escape from that, whether it is for business purpose or not. So this is my opinion, sir.
Sir, supply has to be in the course of business, then only it will get triggered, sir. I mean, 7 is common for everything, I think. Supply has to be in the course of business, then only it will qualify as a supply. It is 9.3 or 9.4. It is ultimately, it's a shift of burden only. First, it has to be a taxable supply only. Then it will shift to the burden of RCM. It may be 9.3 or 9.4, but it should be in the course and furtherance of business.
I agree with Ramandeep ji. Because unless and until it is supply, we will not go ahead with the whether exemption or reverse charge or forward charge.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
So, taking this same example for the schools and universities, so I would like to discuss here Goa bench judgment in case of Goa University, wherein they said that as far as college and schools are concerned, it is not business at all. So, as it is not business, tax is not payable, that judgment is for affiliation services. Can we take help of that particular judgment in this particular scenario?
Sir, we can definitely take, and in that judgment, even Sai publication judgment was discussed of Supreme Court, where it says that this all is in the course of religious activity, and in the similar way, we can say all this is happening is in the course of education purpose, education activity, and we can take, but it's again a very aggressive stand, and even this Goa University judgment may travel to Supreme Court, and we have to be cautious while taking this view.
Okay.
But is it not like that this is for the business entity and the RCM entry talks about only a registered person?
So,
Like the university, if it is a registered entity and the RCM entry with regard to this renting service, it talks only about the services provided to registered person. If the recipient is registered, then the RCM is applicable, irrespective the purpose.
so in some entries, it is said that services provided to business entity is taxable. But in this particular entry, it is said that services provided to registered entity is taxable. So, as the entry says about registered entity,
I will emphasize on one more point. In Goa University case, the exemption was available. The exemption was available, saying that it is an education institute. So we know that there is an entry saying that when it is an education institute, everything provided to students and faculties are exempt. As- Unlike in this case, it is not a, so those affiliation, those migration done to student by university is treated as an education activity, and universities has been treated as an education institute, and that is why all the exemptions have applied in that case. That is what in Goa University. But in this case, it is not a service. First of all, it is not a service, something to student or faculty. So there is a risk also that it is going beyond that exemption entry, and it may be treated as a separate entry. So only shelter will left that it is not in the course and furtherance of education. I mean, in the business, and that is why it will. But it's a very aggressive stand to take.
so in our view, it would be difficult to take that stand as far as schools are concerned. So, in my view, giving exemption only to composition dealer and excluding those who are providing exempted services is not correct somewhere. It needs to be rectified. Should
the
I go
other way
ahead?
of or the other way of doing it, Praladji, would be for education services. Like we have already told that 4 inward supplies are exempted, like
In
examination, cleaning services, and all those things. We can
yes,
also say that this particular commercial renting service provided to educational institute, it will also be accepted. So that could be
okay,
one of the ways if you are representing any of the education institutes. We can
right.
represent it in that manner.
In that case, the same needs to be added for hospitals also.
Yeah.
I
But
feel
since for
what Mahesh sir pointed out was very correct. If you are a
yes,
registered person, then you really fall within the net of this RCM liability. But if you are
yes.
not registered anyway, you can take that excuse and not pay up anything on RCM. So the crux is whether you are registered or not.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So Praladji, we can go to the next.
Okay.
10 minute है आपके पास. Text.
Yes, I think
ठीक
we
है. Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay, then it okay.
So next slide is related to metal scrap. I don't think there is much to discuss on this. If service provider is unregistered and recipient is registered, then GST needs to be paid on RCM basis. So any complications, if any member think in this particular entry, please, we can discuss that. So one question we have that who is going to decide? Suppose, for example, I'm selling old AC, which is scrap for me. So whether who will decide from whose point of view? But the purchaser may use some of its part. So from whose point of view, it would be decided whether it is metal scrap or not, whether supplier's point of view or recipient point of view.
नहीं प्रहलाद जी इसमें थोड़ा सा एक सॉरी एक कॉल इट कम इसमें
Uh-huh.
डिस्कशन one discussion is important why this entry has come. What is the genesis? What is the purpose of this entry? It is to stop the fake credit things. All in this entire metal scrap industry, it is reeling under all these fake credit investigations. So that is the reason this RCM and TDS things have been coming into place. Okay.
But
So now it is mainly for the metal scraps. As you're saying, when you're selling an AC, you're selling an AC as a scrap, not as a metal scrap.
yes.
So these are specifically for metal scrap, like copper, iron, joy ferrous scrap you're selling. So that is the thing that is being brought out here.
Arugda, how does RCM entry will take care of bogus billing? In fact, it will further strengthen. Na? So credit generate karo and आधा इधर आधा उधर and further transfer karo.
In fact, it will legalize everything. Small amount of credit you will pay, and even though there will be no goods at all in trading, you will pay RCM on it. You will increase the values and you will supply. It will, it will somehow, it will not completely serve the purpose they have created this.
Right, because normally all these scrap dealers are very small, and to put a additional compliance, they are going to there is more chance of misusing the provision itself.
No, what was happening, I'll tell you. What was happening is, I am taking the materials from an unregistered person and I am doing the actual production. ठीक है. And I'm getting all this invoices for because मुझे तो balance sheet में profit घटाना है. I was taking the fake billings and without movement of the goods and using it to reduce my profits or to take the ITC. तो अभी अगर जैसे मेरे पास ये अनरजिस्टर्ड का भी मुझे वो करना पड़ रहा है तो मुझे जो भी मैं दिखा रहा हूँ एज माय अनरजिस्टर्ड परचेज आल्सो ऑन दैट आई एम फोर्स्ड टू पे द आरसीएम तो इन वन वे आई एम केप्ट आउट ऑफ दैट फेक बिलिंग थिंग ठीक है बिकॉज व्हाट आई कैन डू इज बिकॉज ये अनरजिस्टर्ड कहाँ से परचेज हो रहा है इट इज नॉट अनरजिस्टर्ड दैट पर्सन इज अनरजिस्टर्ड द पर्सन हु इज सेलिंग टू मी ही हैज 2-3 फर्म्स वन ऑफ द फर्म डज नॉट चार्ज टैक्स बस सिंपल वो वाइफ के नाम पे हो गया किसी रिलेटिव के नाम पे हो गया or he was not charging the tax. So once this is done, once I'm getting it from an unregistered dealer, I can actually show it in my books. I just have to pay the tax on my head and complete the matter. I am not forced to buy the bills from the proper person just to get the chain complete of my inventory. So that though what you're saying in one way it is right, that maybe everything can be legalized, but the practical problem that people are facing with this, that when I'm getting it, I can't show that bill in my records anyway. ठीक है, because I was getting scared कि इतना का दिखाऊंगा तो कहाँ से आया, कौन दिया, क्या टैक्स है नहीं है. बट जैसे मैंने उसको आरसीए में दे दिया एंड वो कर दिया, तो मुझे फिर से फेक बिलिंग के लिए अभी मार्केट में नहीं घूमना पड़ रहा. किससे मैं दिखाऊंगा, कहाँ पे मैं ओरिजिनल दिखाऊंगा इन्वेंट्री अराउंड. So that is one of the issues that is being resolved. Because if you see the same thing is going in the toy industry also. Toy industry में I'm importing it from China, I'm getting it from the person, but क्योंकि मैं उसको कैश में देके उससे ले रहा था, तो मेरा दिखाने का कोई उपाय नहीं. But now since this particular इसके लिए this I'm taking what for making the thing simple. What am I doing? I'm purchasing fake bills from the person, and then maybe I'm showing the supply to. Because I'm selling to all the malls, I'm selling to all the big players, so I have to have that inventory in books. But inventory कैसे दिखाए? So that is one of the reasons actually how this is reducing my liability to generate fake bills. So that is one of the things.
And
But
I
yeah,
agree with
Ramandeep ji,
Arup sir.
what Ramandeep ji has said, that is also right. I can also legalize the thing. So that is also one way of looking at it. But practically, people are resolving to this to solve the issue also. And that's why, along with this RCM, this TDS thing has been brought in. कि कुछ भी करो, अब तुम्हारे पॉकेट से ये पैसा तो निकलेगा, गवर्नमेंट के पास आएगा.
Arup, the TDS to और dangerous है, because as far as TDS is concerned, large MNCs need to do, some small players are doing a TDS of large MNCs. So that would be an additional tracking for any MNC to see that whether TDS is been paid or not paid. Because all these people are very small.
Yes.
Arupta, I have just one thing to mention, whether relevant or not.
Yes, sir.
आपने
बोलिए
कहा
सर, बोलिए.
कि RCM भर के you are getting away from the pain of getting that fake billing thing. So does it not sound like government has taken his share of profit of the reduction in income tax that you're doing? RCM भर दिया तो सब कुछ लीगल हो गया, ऐसा हो गया ना सर?
But to a certain extent, देखिए आप करेंगे, you cannot see, one thing of the government is to run the taxation structure. It cannot run the business. तो जैसे आपने आज क्या कर दिया, आपने टॉय इंपोर्ट करना बंद कर दिया. I cannot import toys. तो अभी मैं एक छोटा प्लेयर हूँ. I cannot import 30 crores का मटेरियल from say via Singapore, Malaysia and all. चाइना से मुझे लाना ही है. तो मैंने क्या किया, मैंने किसी और से बोल दिया, भाई आप मुझे 2 करोड़ का दे दो, और 2 करोड़ का मुझे जो दे रहा है वो मुझे इनवॉइस नहीं दे रहा है. So I'm saying about this entire metal scrap scenario also same thing. So many of the players they're not giving, but मैं अगर मुझे scrap नहीं मिल रहा है, I cannot make those output things. And I'll not tell the name, but I'm fighting a matter for one of the largest steel conglomerates, उनका associate. And उनका ये allegation is that they have got all these fake credits and all. Why? Because all this metal scrap that they have got, level 2, level 3 fake निकले. Level 1 is okay, but level 2, level 3 fake निकले. So where does this thing stop? So that is one challenge. So at least if I know that ठीक है, चलो भाई हमने RCM मतलब लिया है and RCM दे दिया है, so I am.
This sounds to be more of a trade facilitation measure other than collection of tax.
Yes. Exactly. और कुछ नहीं. Yeah, but sorry, over to Prahlad.
It's 9:59.
Yes, last slide actually.
So Venuji, let's take relaxation for 2 minutes, Aaj. Yes, Prahlad, over to you.
Yes. So this is related to ITC availment. So I will just keep this provision. My simple question is whether 16.4 is applicable for registered supplier or not. As far as unregistered supplier is concerned, we have a circular which says that you can generate invoice at the time of payment and you can take the credit whenever you make the payment. But as far as if service provider is registered, then so take an example that the particular invoice is reflected in my 2B of April 2024. I have made the payment in October, so I am eligible to take credit. But if I do not make the payment before October, if I made the payment afterwards, whether credit would be eligible. My view is not eligible. I would like to know any views on this.
Sir, I just won one case in the first appeal itself. It was relating to scrap which was purchased from railways. You may be knowing that from railways, it was under the goods supplied as a scrap was under RCM. So what my client had did mistake that he has not paid RCM, and it was a registered supply. It was coming in the in that 2A also, but he has paid late also. To which I was able to convince that for RCM after this amendment, this 16.4 is not applicable.
Okay, but if we really read 16.4, it says that invoice and 31 the invoice provision which said that self invoice needs to be generated, that is applicable only for unregistered suppliers. So as far as registered supplier is concerned, invoice on the basis of which we are going to take credit is of the supplier only, and that invoice is coming under 16.4.
To which, sir, we what we counter we did is that ITC cannot be taken when we before we make a payment, first of all, and if the payment is made delayed, so all this condition compliance to be seen as an cumulatively, and when I have made the payment, then only I will take the credit.
So that is where the issue is, because the credit is eligible on payment, and the payment is done maybe in, let's say, in December. So 16.2C is also come into play because the payment of taxes should be done. So even we
Correct.
believe that 16.4 would come into play and it would restrict the credit as far as concerned to the registered RCM. Because for unregistered, we have this 36(1)(3), I believe, the rule, which says that self-invoice along with the payment, and we have the supporting circular and the recent amendment, which takes care of the unregistered. But what about the registered? Probably it will hit by 16.4.
Ramandeep sir, Gaurav here from Ahmedabad. Would you be in a position to share that railway on a judgment, if at all, if you are okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely. I'll do that.
Maybe we can share it in the group, Ramandeep. So we'll celebrate
sir.
together first.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely. Yes.
So in our view, there would be certainly litigation would be there. So as far as registered supplier is concerned, whether the circular will be helpful or not, that is really a question mark. So I think next is related to 74, but I think we can stop. This is my last slide.
So I think thank you very much, Praladji. So I think over to Venuji. Venuji, over to you.
Yeah, sorry. Firstly, thank you so much. There's one question which is mine unanswered. I'll take it into the main group. And thank you, Mahesh Bhai. Thank you, Prahalad ji, for taking wonderful session. And one thing definitely what I would love about our SMS is the Choti Si section, Choti Si provision, but fir se jaake padte is like today we went back 9.3, we went back 34.2, as if we are like for reading that for first time. So thank you so much for taking us through the provisions of the law, and see you again, all of you, in the next session. And participants, I request you to have your friends join and you take the sessions. Thank you so much. We'll meet on next Saturday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening ahead. Bye.